Welcome to another writing lecture with Professor Dennis. This time we're going to be looking at formatting basics for academic papers. I'm going to start, as always, with a screen share. And let's get that pulled up nice and big for you. So most professors will tell you if you are using MLA or APA. Whichever one you're expected to use, you're going to need to know how to manipulate the software to ensure you're meeting the requirements for the font type, the margins, and the page numbers. Most classes at this level will have moved on from the standard 5-paragraph essay or the word count as a means of measuring your success and understanding of content. As such, you're now expected to gauge your assignments in terms of number of pages. There are certain standards that are expected in order for this to occur. This includes having a set font type and size, as well as set margins all the way around the page. As these are normal academic standards across the board for all campus locations, at least so far as I've found, I wanted to ensure that you understand what these standards are and how to implement them in the system you are using. Having a font type that is too big, spacing that is too much, or margins that are too big can be seen as a form of cheating to avoid meeting your page length requirements. In order for you to truly grasp the importance of proper formatting, allow me to tell you what happens in my classes with my students who do not follow these standards. First, if they're short on their page count, they end up with a percentage being taken off. Maybe they're only half a page short, so maybe I only take 10% off the grade for the first half page. That means that if the essay only gets 89%, because it's hard to get an A on one of my papers when you're short on page content to start with, then the score drops to 79%. If a student is missing more than half a page, I take off more, 10% plus, for every half page after that is missing. That means if a student is missing a whole page, they're down 15%. If a student is missing 2 pages, they could be down 25%. And that on top of not having enough content to really meet what's being asked on the rubric. So if a student does not use the correct font type or margin size, I will dock a student for attempting to cheat on their page length requirements. Why? Because page length matters. There is a standard that has been set, and you're expected to meet it. If you're watching this and you're in a class with another professor, you'll have to ask that professor what their standards of grading are on page lengths. With that in mind, there is also the need for you to understand that you have to work smarter, not harder. Understand that for academic papers, you do need to double space everything and not have any blank lines. When you double space, you make it easier for your reader and yourself. Think of it this way. If you have to write a 4-page paper and you forget to double space, then you've really written an 8-page paper and done twice as much work as what you were assigned to do. Why add that much stress to yourself if you don't have to? Instead, format your document correctly before you even type out your name on the first line. If you make sure that everything is configured correctly before you begin, you'll have success with each assignment, as well as be able to create a healthy habit that'll serve you well for any and all papers or documents you have to write. For all academic paper formatting, you will always have the following standards. Double space on everything. No blank lines ever. 1-inch margins all the way around the page. Page numbers in the upper right-hand corner. And indent paragraphs 1/2 inch by hitting the Tab button on your keyboard 1 time. Just a note on the blank lines, if you have a blank line after your header, your title, and even each and every paragraph, it's seen as a form of cheating to try and meet the page length requirements. It will not work. Don't do it. Remember to indent your paragraphs 1/2 inch. This is easy enough to do by hitting that tab button one time at the start of each and every new paragraph. Why? Because that's the signal to your reader that you're starting a new thought for them to follow. If you look through books you might read for pleasure, each paragraph starts with that indent. It's the visual cue to the reader that you too need to have. For those taking a class requiring MLA formatting, you have the additional following specific information that you will need to include. 12-point font Times New Roman. Your last name in front of those page numbers, and a works cited page. Now, depending on the paper, you may or may not have the works cited page. If you use outside information to create your paper, you will need the works cited. An important note about your works cited pages, these are usually not included in the page count. What does that mean? That means that if you're being asked to write a 5-page paper, your 2 pages of citations do not count. If they did, you would only have to write 3 pages, which is not long enough to be considered a research paper. Do not try to use this method for your page count. Your page count will always be the number of pages you have to create content for, the number of pages you have to write out for the style of the paper you're being asked to complete. Do not make the mistake of using the title page and references in that count. It will get you in trouble every time. This means also that you will have no blank line between your MLA header and your title, no blank line between your title and your paper, and no blank line after every paragraph. Yes, I have actually seen this done before. Please do not be one of those students. Use every single line you are given as if it is as precious as gold, because it is. Those lines are your space for your ideas. You want your ideas to shine, so let them shine. MLA will look like MLA page numbers, MLA header, title of your paper centered, your paper in normal paragraphs, 23 lines per page, no extra spacing before or after, and no blank lines ever on any page. How do you get the magical 23 lines? If you're using Word Online, forget about this ever happening. They do not have the same features as the full Microsoft Office package. If you are using the full Word app on your computer, let me walk you through this. We are going to do a new screen share, and I'm going to show you a few other tricks while we are at it. So I deliberately put this paper in the wrong font type, the wrong size, the wrong spacing, the wrong everything. The only thing I have right is my MLA page numbers. And I got those by going to Insert, Page Number, top of the page, selecting, and entering in my name. The rest of it, however, is not right. Do you see this? There's no actual line in between, but there's all this extra spacing for some of my areas. How do we get rid of that? Well, we're going to do a Control-A. I've highlighted everything now, and I'm going to fix my font. We're going to start by putting it in Times New Roman. Okay, that's a good start. Next, 12-point. Okay, great, even better. Now there's still this weird spacing, so I'm going to go to paragraphs. If you didn't see that, I'm going to close that. This little arrow here on paragraphs. And you want to make sure that your before is a 0, your after is a 0, and we're going to click OK. So I got rid of the weird spacing, but I still don't have it all correct. So there are two ways you can do this now. You can either go into paragraphs and do double and click OK, or you can hit the Control and the 2 at the same time, and that has just double spaced it. Oh, but look at this. I don't have 23 lines to the page. So this goes to the area I told you about the widows and orphans. We're again going to click on paragraph. We're going to leave everything selected. We're going to click line and page break. And I want to take off the widow and orphan control. Basically, you want to deselect all of these and click OK. And now if I go down, we have those two little words here, and this line jumped up. I now have 23 lines per page. The next thing I'd like to cover is the MLA header. Where do they go? I have a lot of students who end up putting it in the wrong place. For some odd reason, they want to put it in the document header up here. Well, if you put it in the document header up here, it's going to go on every page. Don't do that. No, no, no. The MLA header is simply the first 4 lines of your normal document. You can move very smoothly all the way through the document, and it only shows up on that first page. It does not, again, does not go in this header. It goes just on the top 4 lines of your paper. All right, we're going to switch back to that nice PowerPoint we've got going on. Again, when students hear MLA headers, some get confused and they try to put it in that document headers. That is not where they go. They are not that type of a header. They are just the head of the document. And as such, the MLA header takes up the very first 4 lines of your document. That's it. No more, no less, and certainly not on the top of every page in the document header. Please do not put it there. Putting your MLA header in the actual document header within Word will put it on every page, not just your first page. Again, do not use the document header for your MLA header. Just the first 4 lines of the actual typed document itself. Your MLA header will contain the following items in this exact order: your name, professor name, class name, assignment due date. Note that the last item says assignment due date, not the date of completion. That means that you have to put the day the professor has assigned it as due, even if you're completing the work early. The next area I find students struggling with are the MLA page numbers. Now, these are in the document header. They are in the upper right-hand corner, and they have to have your last name in front of them to be considered MLA. A word of caution on page numbers. I have seen some learning management systems alter formatting when you upload your document. The professor is not going to care if you had everything right on your end. They're only going to care if you got it right in the system. So for this reason, I always encourage students to go back and double check the formatting of their uploaded assignment. A little tip for when you're submitting your work online. If your formatting changes due to the classroom portal, the learning management system you're using, try printing to PDF. The learning management system cannot change your page number location or any other formatting if you are using a PDF file. Please don't use PDFs for any online workshops though, because your classmates will not be able to get in there and do what they need to do. The other type of formatting you might encounter is APA. In addition to the basic academic formatting, this style will always have an APA title page, include a running head, have a main body, and include references page instead of works cited. An important note about your APA title page and references pages. These are usually not included in the page count. What does that mean? That means that if you are being asked to write a 5-page paper, your 1 page of title page and your 1 page of references does not count. If they did, you would only have to write a 3-page paper, which is not long enough to be considered a research paper. Do not try to use this method for your page count. Your page count will always be the number of pages you have to create content for, the number of pages you have to write out for the style of paper you are being asked to complete. Do not make the mistake of using the title page and references in that count. It will get you in trouble. Now, APA is a little bit more lenient on the font types it allows. For APA, you're allowed to select one of the following font types and sizes, and they do have to match up. 11 point if you are using Calibri, 11 point if you're using Arial, 10 point if you're using Lucinda Sans Unicode, 11 point if you're using Georgia, 10 point for Computer Modern, and 12 point if you are using Times New Roman. The catch is that you have to stay consistent throughout the entire paper. You can't switch in the middle. My recommendation is to check with the professor. Certain professors want certain font types. Personally, I prefer the 12-point font Times New Roman for all assignments. That's because I'm an English major through and through, so it's been ingrained in me. You might have other professors who want 11-point Calibri or 10-point Computer Modern. If they do not have a specified font type of preference, I would recommend either the 12-point font Times New Roman, 11-point font Arial, or 11-point Calibri, as these are the most common font types used in academic settings. No matter what class you have for what subject, I want you to title your paper. You should always have enough faith in your writing to give it a creative title that gets beyond the assignment name. You've put this much work into it. It would be a shame to just call it Assignment 1. That and giving your work a title tells your professor that you really did put in an effort and you really do care about how you do on this paper. I hope you found this one helpful. If you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, do not hesitate to reach out. Again, make sure you're formatting. If you need to go back through and watch and see what areas I was using in Word to be able to format that document. Pro tip, do all that setting before you do any typing. It'll make your job, your life so much easier. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.